barely 5 months after my second birth anniversary, in the year 1989, Africa's first rebel war began in my country, Liberia, the first independent country in all of Africa. According to my parents, there are many reasons that led to the civil conflict. But one topic that never ceased to appear in every discussion about the war is that inequity was the engine of the conflict. Although I didn't understand what inequity meant, and my parents didn't pronounce the word inequity, it was always my fervent pledge to stand up against whatsoever was the cause of the conflict once I had the opportunity to do so. Continuous marginalization and sustained oppression of the indigenous people, the group that I belong to, by certain segments of the population for more than 100 years destroyed my childhood and caused many innocent people to lose their lives. The resulting consequence was a total devastation of all the utilities and infrastructures in the entire country, because the indigenous population, the marginalized population, considered everything as an enemy. The entire country, including my native community, was burned several times by opposing warring factions. Although we live in a rural village that was considered as an indigenous community, we were not spared of the brutality and cruelty that usually accompanies a civil conflict. I was one of the lucky few kids who was not forced to take up arms as child soldier to defend my native tribe and community. I witnessed before my own eyes as my older siblings were offered to rebels as ransom for our lives. My older sister, an innocent 14 years old girl, was offered to a man almost 3 times her age by my community for fear of being adopted by rebels. The reality of this incident still haunts me till to this date. I can still recall on a quiet morning as my sister was being violated by this elderly man. She cried, but no one could come to her rescue. As oblivious as I was at the time, I felt within myself that something was not just right. After the war, my older siblings who survived the war didn't attend school because they already had responsibilities and they were old enough to sit in class with kids who were of the same age as their own children they born during the war. My father, a junior high school dropout, and my mother, an uneducated farmer, struggled throughout the 14-year civil war to keep us alive in the bushes. As a child, I asked my parents several times whether this was the same childhood they had when they were growing up. Their answers were yes, but described another form of war that I didn't understand until I was sent to the capital to live with relatives in order to attend school. When I got to Monrovia at age 16, I realized the differences between neighborhoods. Where I lived had solid and liquid waste dumped everywhere, but certain part of the city was clean, as though we have not come from war. There were frequent outbreaks of diseases such as diarrhea, cholera, polio, measles, yellow fever, malaria, etc. in my vicinity, and a constant pool of non-governmental organizations' intervention. But this was not the case in some communities. NGOs practically did everything for us, ranging from food supply, education, clothes, shelter, waste management, and medication, etc. for my community. At first, I thought they loved us more than adjacent and better off communities. But I later realized that it was a way to put us back on track after 14 years of brutal civil war that claimed the life of more than 250,000 Liberians. While attending school, I realized that most of the outbreaks that frequently occur in our part of the city is traced back to how we treated our environment that comes back to haunt us. I also learned that poor communities are the direct victim of bad choices made by upscale neighborhoods and sometimes the vulnerable communities themselves. Many of my unfortunate relatives, family members, and friends also lost their lives in some of the outbreaks. Again, I was so fortunate to survive. It was then that I realized that my life experiences were preparing me for a journey ahead. These factors made me to start thinking about how neighborhoods, especially slum communities, could alleviate some of the consequences associated with unsanitary environment, which usually result from how we treat our environment and sometimes the bad choices we make. According to a 2017 UNICEF report, only 5% of Liberians have access to pipe-borne water. Therefore, to prevent diarrhea and other waterborne diseases, most Liberians drink water from plastic sachets. This approach tends to solve the diarrhea problem but causes plastic pollution problem in the environment. There is no program currently at community level that addresses the pollution problem in Liberia. When plastics enter the environment, they degrade our water resources, cause drainages to clog, which promote flooding, and which in turn contribute to the global burden of diseases. Given the above, my organization and I are building a team of conscious citizens that see sanitation problem as everybody's problems. We have to defeat the mentality that we are not capable of being an integral part of solutions to our problems. Although it has created a culture of dependency on outside help, we have to realize that solutions to our problems should be driven by us. The Atlantic Fellow for Health Equity Program has given me the tenacity, voice, consciousness, and connections to explore the nexus of health equity in the environment. As Francois Hollande said, we have a single mission to protect and hand the environment to the next generation. I truly believe that no child should experience the kind of inequity I experienced when I was growing up. I am a living witness that when inequity exists in a society for a long period of time, the resulting consequence can be devastating. It is my solemn request that you join me in the fight against inequity wherever you find yourself. Let's make the world a better place for current and future generations to come. Thank you. We are